I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Westminster Selectboard for Wednesday, March 24th, 2021, 6:30 p.m. via Zoom conference. I hope everyone and their families are safe and well and doing well. That being said, yes.
Yeah, I said, yay, Kevin.
Oh.
Now without our chair.
And I promise I'll get my technology upgraded hopefully for the next meeting so you can see me. Okay. At this point, adjustments to the agenda?
I have nothing.
Anyone else? Comments? Seeing no further comments, I'd like to have a motion to accept the agenda.
The minutes?
I move we accept the minutes of the
Okay.
meeting of March.
My apologies. Accept the minutes of March 10th, 2021.
I'll second.
Being first and seconded. Anyone in opposition? The acceptance of the minutes are therefore recorded for March 10th, 2021. Thank you so much. Communications and public comments. Anything?
Good.
Okay. Very good. Moving on to unfinished business. First, town meeting procedure, April posting and final decision.
This is on your agenda because this would be your last meeting that you could change your minds on how you're going to conduct the town meeting. If we don't do it now, April 14th would be too late. But as it sits, things are opening up. The governor really hasn't come forward with town meetings, but that being said, graduations for high schools are accepted now in person. Most everything you read says that they're not in favor of them. They're strongly discouraged, but nobody has said anything about outside as we're planning. So why graduations are being okayed is it's because it is activities outside. So I think you guys are on solid ground, unless the board has concerns.
I don't have
Any concerns of anybody?
Nope.
I don't have any.
Okay.
Russ, we're actually going to post it for the 15th, and then we're going to also post it for a rainy day for the next day. Is that what we're going to do?
That's correct.
Okay. Then I'm off. I'm fine.
Okay. Seeing a consensus, can I have a motion?
We've already passed the motion. I guess we're agreeing to not change the motion.
I think that's what you have. I don't think you need a formal motion. I just wanted to give you the last hurrah to change your minds if you're going to, because like I said, the next meeting is too late.
Okay, going once, going twice. Very good. Moving on to the select board appointment, interim school board legal opinion.
This is Susan Harlow. May I speak, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please. Please.
Russ wanted me to repeat this email from Larry, which I think you all have copies of. Is this what you're talking about, Russ? How to hold the vote? Larry Slayson by email March 4th. It can be, meaning the vote, can be by Australian ballot, since that's how school directors have been elected in the past. However, in this case, I believe you also have the option of a floor vote. 5 persons could be nominated by motion, seconded, and the moderator could submit the slate to the floor to be approved by acclamation. He also said he may consider forwarding this email to moderator Fletcher Proctor, but Fletcher is no longer David. Major, you are now the moderator, so you may want to weigh in on the plan to have a floor vote for the school directors.
I think that we'll probably ask for volunteers or people who are interested. If it's more than 5, we'll have to go to a paper ballot probably by type of term. And then, but if it's just 5, we could elect them all as a full slate.
Mm-hmm. And a paper ballot would be feasible as a floor vote, I'm assuming. That would be up to the town clerk, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose we could do a show of hands. I mean, if you've got 2 people running for a 1-year position, or we could have people fill out little pieces of paper and writing names on pieces of paper, and then have the Board of Civil Authority folks who are there count them.
What is the deadline by which candidates would have to apply?
I think it's right up to the moment.
Right up to the moment they can to the, yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
The good old fashioned way.
All right.
Hey, David, can I have a question? So in the past, if there's a difference between a 3-year and a 2-year, those are all what you're running for. So there's how many now? There's three years, or is it, how does that work? Because the reason I'm saying is that you would run for not just the position, but the term.
That's correct. And we've had 5 people on the board. And I honestly don't remember.
It was always 3 and 2 when I was there, and I don't think
3
it
and
ever
2. And so it would be 3 for the.
So you would actually ask for 3 people to run for the 3-year term, and if you got 5, you would then have election of who gets the 3 years. Then
Right.
you do the same for the 2.
For the 2-year. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I know that we have several or a couple of people who are currently on the unified board who may be interested in running, but had expressed an interest in running for the remainder of their current term. But I think at this point we would just open it up to those two options, either a 2-year or a 3-year possibilities.
That sounds reasonable to me. Okay.
Very good to have Cheryl Charles here. Cheryl, did you have anything to add to this?
Well, thank you for offering that opportunity. I wonder if we yet have a legal opinion from Mr. Slayson about next steps to approach the Secretary of State. It's my understanding, reading some of the literature, that perhaps the school board and the select board both would send the results of the January vote to withdraw to the Secretary of State, and to verify that the results had been approved. I mean, that they had gone through the proper channels, whatever that proper terminology is, and then having that been received by the Secretary of State, it would then be transmitted over to the State Board of Education, who would then schedule Westminster to appear before the State Board to request official approval of the withdrawal. My question is whether Mr. Slayson has yet weighed in on all of that, whether we've asked or you have asked that question yet about the next steps.
Thank you. David, you were going to say something?
I was just going to add to that it's that we need to make a request to get onto the State Board of Education's agenda for some upcoming meeting, whenever they can fit it in, so that the interim board and then the elected board come May is actually the board that handles all the school business, and it's not this sort of select board / unified board amalgam that we have right now. Things will become much clearer once we can get on the State Board of Education agenda and they can assuming they do, the withdrawal. And I would advise I think it's advisable for the select board to ask maybe the town manager to send a letter to the Secretary of State. And I think, is that the way it should go, Cheryl? The Secretary of State then pass it on to the State Board of Education, or can it go directly to the State Board of Education? A letter that says, we have had this vote and we would like to be on the agenda.
It's my understanding it goes to the Secretary of State first. But this is where I thought that Larry Slayson could advise us about all of these steps. So it was my actual hope that the Select Board would ask Mr. Slayson to guide the Select Board and the town about what the next steps are to make this official appeal. You know, as an interim school board member or even elected member of the union board for the 3 towns, I don't have authority to ask for that legal support, but you all do. And I think it's important that we get the legal advice that we need for these next steps.
Before I ask for the input for the rest of the board, I do have a question of both of you. Not knowing what the legal standing is for the Westminster Select Board, is it your opinions based on all your years of service, thank you for all you've done, that this is something we must do? Does it imperil the status of what we've currently enabled by not taking this step?
At this point, we have the town has voted to withdraw. The Select Board is the only organization or entity that the state will recognize until the State Board of Education can okay the merger or the withdrawal, and then the interim board and then the elected board would be the entity that would have official standing and be able to conduct business. So the Select Board, it appears that the State Board of Education is not putting us on the agenda just because of the news that we held this vote. It appears that they're asking for, or they're waiting until they get an official notice from the town of Westminster saying we have held this vote and we would like the withdrawal approved by the State Board of Education.
I think, Kevin, this is Toby. I think we should take that step. In other words, nobody right now has grabbed that and ran with it. So I think it needs to happen. And I think I'm just going to make a motion that we follow up on this and engage our lawyer, Slayson, to go, make the steps go. Otherwise, we've been using him a lot and we've been paying him a lot. And he has to be ready to do the rest of it. And we should request that that he do it.
Kevin, may I ask a question also? Susan?
Please.
I agree that we should submit the request to get on the Board of Education's agenda and why. But I'm wondering about any backup documentation, any extensive paperwork that might have to be submitted. I would think that would be out of our purview, and that would be up to the school board interim or not, because that's not something that we know that much about. And I don't know, maybe there's nothing, but there must be extensive evidence, documentation, etc. Am I correct?
Thank you, Sue. David has his hand up. Please, David.
I think, Kevin, that in that request to be on the agenda on the State Board of Education, you say you would like to have the interim school board present the evidence that essentially, I understand that all the State Board of Education is weighing is whether the school meets state standards. But that the interim school board, which the select board has appointed, would be making the presentation. And so I think you're right, Susan, that it's that you would be asking those folks to do it rather than trying to come up with that yourself. And those folks, of course, would be relying on the supervisory union and just making sure that all the ducks are in a row.
Thank you so much. Is there any more commentary on this?
This is Cheryl. Kevin, if I can make one more quick comment.
Sure.
That is that whereas I agree with David Major that it would be once this is on the agenda for the State Board of Education, I believe that you, the select board, can designate the interim board to make the presentation. I think it would also be important to have the select board represented either by the chair or at least one or more members. It needs to be the case that the town of Westminster chooses to take responsibility again for having its own school. So I just believe that additional blessing really of the select board needs to be present as well.
Thank you, Cheryl. Craig?
The money that we spend on Larry Slason, we're designating this and keeping it as a separate cost, right? I'm assuming so. Because we didn't put this money in our budget to start with. So I'm assuming we're just going to keep track of it and try to figure out what to do at the end. My second thing is, I thought Toby made a motion, but I didn't hear a second. So I don't know if we're under discussion or not.
No, two excellent points of order regarding the governance of the cost. And the second, that is, forgive me, Toby did make the initial motion, and we had some additional commentary to amplify that motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Yeah. Either myself or Sue will second it.
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor?
Would you repeat the motion?
Toby. Sorry.
Toby, I think I have it, Toby.
Okay, Millie?
To follow up with legal counsel or engage legal counsel for the next steps in addressing or getting going forward with the State Board of Education meeting agenda.
Toby, is that adequate?
You're muted,
You're
Toby.
muted. Can't hear you. Sorry.
She muted herself and I don't think she knows.
There we go. I think there's been more conversation since then. So, you know, I do think what I said I'd like to see. And then Cheryl has made other recommendations, which I think we should follow up on as well. But we can vote on the first one.
I just need to know what the motions are.
Okay.
If I can sum it up, I think what Toby's saying, the first one, we gotta legally contact Larry Slayson and give the select board permission to go ahead to hire him to come up with this advisory from him. Am I right?
Well, sort of.
Probably should be placed on this Board of Education agenda. That should be in there. Have the issue placed on the
Yeah.
Board of Education agenda. That's the main focus.
The work
of
that he
what we're
needs to
asking
do.
Larry to do.
Right.
That's all we're asking him to do at the moment. The next step to get on the agenda.
So I'm a little confused because I thought we're asking Larry to do it, but then what Cheryl is saying is she wants the select board in another motion to be involved with doing it. Am I wrong?
Okay,
No,
that's-
you're not, but that could be part of the same motion because
Okay.
in totality, that should be added to the overall reason we are going to legal counsel for not only his advice in this matter, but to consider these issues and to advise us accordingly as to what is best, in his opinion, for us to proceed. Does that sum it up?
Well said.
Yeah, that's fine.
Cheryl?
That sounds fine. It looks like Mr. Major has a comment too, though.
I was just going to suggest that the motion asks the legal counsel to communicate with the State Board of Education, asking them to put on the agenda the Westminster withdrawal and have Westminster interim board members present, as well as at least one select board member.
Perfect.
Millie, thank you for all your effort. Do you have all that?
Kevin, I was gonna make you repeat it all.
No, I don't have it. So either David, somebody's going to have to.
I'll try to repeat it, maybe, Millie. Just, and of course, I'm not just as a suggestion, that the select board ask the attorney, the counsel, to communicate with the State Board of Education, asking them to put the subject of Westminster's withdrawal on their agenda with the interim school board, the select board has appointed as representatives, and at least one select board present at that for that agenda item.
Okay, thank you, David. I've got it.
So moved.
Motion,
So Toby, is that your motion? now?
Yes, yes.
And you agree that that's the
Motion.
motion that you wanted, then I will second it.
motion forwarded and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for your input and being here this evening on this important issue. Any further comment before we move on? Very good. Seeing none. The website renewal update.
That would be me. So our communications committee met on Monday and we continued to, Russ Lazarek showed us sort of a a new version. We had discussed last time things we'd like to see. He showed us a new version, which we liked very much. It's cleaner and easier to navigate. We still have some things to discuss, several things to discuss. But we're going to meet again next week with and see what suggestions that Russ has taken. And I think it's moving along well. And Russ is here. And do you have any comment, Russ?
I think we meet in 2 weeks, or a week and a half, not next week.
Yeah, April.
But yeah, I think after the next meeting, probably we can start sharing it out for additional people in select board to see it.
Oh, good, great. One thing we're doing is trying to find and solicit photos of the town that would be useful and good on the site. So that's about it. Yes, we're going to meet. I think it's April 5th that we'll meet. That's it.
Okay. Any more comment? Thank you so much. Any more comment? Okay, moving on. Collaborative Finance Processing Manual. Update.
We have not a lot. I did talk to Paul about it. I put in your packet Cynthia's email to you folks about it being a manual, not just a bullet process. And we all agree with that. We're just trying to get the players all to put down what they need, and then we'll fill in the dots, which I'm hoping NIMRIC will be a very large part of that. I also have contacted Chad. Only today did he get back to me. And we have to set up an appointment first, and then I'll be back in touch with you with dates to meet with the finance committee.
Terrific. And again, thank you to Cindy for all her input and guidance. So the next step there will be a meeting, again, another meeting of the original group and anyone else who would like to join. Okay? Any more comment on this matter? Very good. Moving on, adoption of the appointment list.
So in your packet, you have the appointment list. We do have some blanks that need to be filled in. But at this point, that list is as solid as it's going to be right now. I put bullets on our agenda. I need, for this list before you adopt it, I need a select board alternate for Windham Solid Waste Management District. And I also need a Windham Regional Commission rep, which should be a select board member. I'll have a story about that in a minute. But
And what about the
anybody
new
interested in either
emergency
one of those?
management select? Sorry, Russ. What about the first one, the new emergency management select board rep?
That's another whole issue, but that's not on an appointment list. So I'd rather do these two first, and then we'll go back to that one.
Very good.
I'll be the solid waste management alternate.
Thank you, Susan.
How about a Windham Regional Commission rep?
Russ, how often do they meet?
Craig?
Right now, Craig, if nothing changes, Bobby Kilburn is our representative, which we should have two. But she's running into personal matters and might be stepping down, and requested that at least somebody's name be placed beside hers in case it happens quicker than she thought. And I will be advertising the position, of course, in the Gazette, trying to get more people to help out.
In that case, I can do it for right now.
Thank you, Craig.
Can I ask a quick question, Kevin?
Absolutely.
As an alternate, what are your responsibilities exactly? I'm an alternate on the planning commission, and I guess I was just curious. Do you join every meeting or only if need be? I guess I was just curious.
Only
clarify
when
that.
needed.
Okay.
When we don't have a quorum, and we know it before the meeting starts, you will get a call and a request to join. The Windham Solid Waste Management District is something that I've been doing now for a couple of years. And to be honest, I never called Sheldon to step up for that. Windham Regional Commission, again, we've never had a select board member be the alternate, the representative. So it's just to have a second name beside the title.
Gotcha.
And again, we'll be working on it.
Great. Thank you.
So Kevin, I would like to adopt that list as it's presented with the addition of Susan Harlow as the select board alternate to the Solid Waste Management District.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I guess that's a motion. Okay, aye.
Do you want a formal motion on each one, Russ?
No, I just for those is fine. Now we need to talk about the emergency management representative for the select board.
Russ, I'm sorry, this is Millie. You also put Craig in as a Windham Planning Commission alternate, but you didn't mention him.
That was, and I like that. I had
I'm
no
sorry.
problem.
Yes, you're right.
Just put my name down. I'm fine.
Jason is the planning commission. Jason, right?
Yeah, that's what I have on my list.
Yeah, Jason, last meeting, Jason,
I'm
volunteered.
sorry. It's Windham Regional.
Commission rep would be Craig.
Right. Sorry.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
And Jason, an alternate is just like the vice chair, which I am. As long as that person shows up, you do nothing. Okay, I love it.
Well, I only asked because I got a couple of emails this week and I wasn't sure if I needed to respond to them or just what the role was. That's all.
No,
You're going to be in the know, Jason. You're going to get the regular information that every board member gets, just in case you have to step in.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
So is our motion to pass the appointment list adequate, or do we need to have a real motion and then a second?
Technically, we're appointing these people. We should have a motion. So I'll make a motion that we appoint Susan Harlow to the new Windham Solid Waste Management District and appoint Craig Allen to the Windham Regional Commission representative as alternates.
And the complete list that's proposed.
And the complete list that was also handed to us.
I'll
Second.
second that.
Okay. A motion and it's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
So the emergency management position, it's a little more demanding. It has some classwork that needs to be done so that if the director, which is myself, cannot do his duties for some reason, not in the area or whatever, that this person can step up and help manage a disaster. Typically the select board member only has to do the ICS 100 course. To do the the LEMP to do the mitigation plan. All of those have to be done by a person that has at least the 402 ICS class certificate. So we're all set on those, but I do need a representative from the select board that will take the course. It's not extremely difficult. It's just time consuming, and get a certificate for at least the ICS 100.
I would do that unless another colleague would like to do that.
Go to it, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin. I can walk you through how to do it and what to do at a later date.
How much running is involved in this test?
None.
Okay, then I'll do it.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to town land off Davidson Hill update.
Last meeting, I explained to you that we are ready to sell that piece of land on Davidson Hill. In this week's packet, I gave you the map and the explanation of land value and the itemized cost, property cost sheet. We have approximately $7,400 vested in that property with taxes and cleanup. I don't recommend that would be the price, though that is up to you folks, of course. It's a very narrow and limited site. It can be built upon because it is an existing lot. It has restrictions so that whatever is built on it would be limited. So that being said, we do have 2 or 3 people that are interested, but they're not going to spend, huge dollars on it. So I'd like guidance from you to give me a range that you would accept.
Commentary?
Have you asked a realtor or anybody what they think this property is worth?
That's what I gave you in your packet, is the assessed value from the town and our assessor. Is it true face value? No, it is not. But that's why I gave you the assessment.
Do you have a recommendation, Russ?
I do. With talking with people, I think the range that we can assume is reasonable will be somewhere in the range of 3,000 to 5,000.
Do you need a motion?
Any other commentary?
I don't think you need a motion, Susan, because we don't really have a firm offer, but I'd like this to be acknowledged that yes, we are accepting that as a select board. 3,000 to 5,000 is a range that we can live with. If it goes to a little bidding war and we get more, great. We have costs that we can offset. I talked to legal counsel about it, and he would do it as a normal process where people would submit closed bids. And
What's the minimum of cost we'll have in closing? So let's say we sold it for $5,000. We're gonna have legal closing. What's roughly that cost us?
the closing costs, I'm not off the top of my head. We've not done it yet. That the 19.1 acres has come close a couple different times, but that's it. I would assume with a quick claim deed from the town, you're looking at probably, and this is just a guesstimate on my part, honestly, about 1,500, I would guess.
So if we don't get at least $3,000, we're getting close to questioning whether we even we got at least cover the cost of closing and get rid of it.
Absolutely. And that's why 3,000 wouldn't be,
No.
it wouldn't be real reasonable, but it's at least getting it back on our tax card.
I would say we'd entertain any offer over 5,000 for now. But leave it up to the rest of the board.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so let's do a motion on that, for 5,000, at least a 5,000 minimum in the interim. So at least it's on the record that we're empowering the town manager to at least seek a de minimis amount of $5,000. Is that reasonable for everyone?
Yes.
Yeah, it's fine.
Perfect. Thank you.
Do you want to?
Okay.
Kevin?
Yeah, please. Could I get a motion, please?
Yeah, I move that we tell the town manager that we'll accept a minimum of $5,000 to purchase the property on Davidson Hill. Do you need the name of the parcel? No, you probably don't.
No, thank you. Second.
I'll second. Maybe we should make the motion that we don't let it go for any more than a total cost of 5,000. The only reason I was thinking, if it costs the closing, if somebody wanted to offer you $3,000, but they pay all the closing costs, it gives you a little flexibility on how you want to do it.
Craig, no matter what, Craig, you're going to get this back in your plate to
Okay.
accept the offer.
Okay. I'm fine with it then.
Well, just being thorough. Thank you. Okay. All in favor?
I didn't get a second on that.
I'll
Second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. New business. Pavement bid results.
In your packet, you received a handwritten result page. Pike Industries is low on the in-place tonnage, but he is also low on the square yards that he was actually reclaiming and finish grading. And why is because we did it so early this year to try to get it so that it's done in the heat of the summer. The snow piles were a little misleading for some of the contractors. So my recommendation is that we go by the tonnage in place, and the square yards will be re-looked at when all the snow is melted and we can tell exactly what we're talking about. But this was apples for apples with how much it was going to be per square yard, and that's why I asked for that from the contractors, because it was going to be their measurements, and we want to make sure that we're covering all of our costs, that there's no overtures when we do settle on the amount of pavement that we can afford versus their pricing. So again, my recommendation is Pike Industries because of their in-place reclaiming and finish grading and their pavement put back per ton.
Russ, can I answer your question?
Absolutely.
I am totally confused because it looks like Pike is going to put down less tonnage than, let's say, Basins, and yet they're the same. So same with reclaiming. So if you took just the cost to put it down, it's like 35 cents difference that Pike is lower, because Pike's giving us a lot less tons compared to Basins. So it's really, what is it costing us? Am I reading it wrong?
No, Craig, but again, if you do it by the square yard and by the ton, they beat the competition because the square yards is $1.25 and the tonnage in place is $64.90. The Basins price is $1.25 to reclaim, no matter how many square yards we're talking, or placing the pavement down for $68.25. So no matter what we come up with for square yards, Pike is going to be cheaper
Oh,
carrying this along.
I'm looking at 65, so that's actually an 8. Okay.
That's 68.25.
Oh, it came through my machine looking like a 5, so I thought it was
Sorry.
65. Okay.
Can I ask a quick question, Russ?
Yes,
Please.
So Pike has reclaim and fine grade? Are
That's
the
correct.
other three, including fine grade, it's just not written down?
that's correct. That's
Okay.
correct.
What about the time frame?
We, in our bid, put a time limit, and September 1st was the end date. So it's from, I don't have it right in front of me. I can grab it if you want the exact dates, but I think it's June 30th to September 1st.
So no matter what, no matter who does it, they all have to be done by September 1st.
That's correct.
And our road foreman has looked at this too.
Of course.
I think that's good to have an end date like that, because it seems like town work, they always push off late.
That's why we did it this time of year. We didn't
Yeah.
do anything last year, and that's why we waited. We kind of pushed it up so that we're getting the first bids, which are cheaper typically because people are hungry, and it can be done in the season where it should be done, which is the heat of the year, July, August.
Is there any commentary from our citizens present tonight?
Kevin, Nate Stoddard, I have a quick question.
Sure.
Craig, I think, hit on this. I'm still a little confused. The tonnage of pavement going back down, everybody else is 3,700, 3,700, 3,800. Pike is 3,300. If I read the bid correctly, you had a very specific amount of inches and blah, blah, blah. Why is their tonnage, if their tonnage is 4,400 tons less, are they putting less down? I don't get that.
It's based on the square yard, and they were obligated to measure the actual conditions. Again, we had snow, so people had to really, do an estimate of how wide the road is and the length. We drew lines for them. So the tons back is representing what he's reclaiming finished grade is 16,867 square yards. And we know that is not enough. It's probably what we can afford, but it's not apples for apples with everybody else. What is apples for apples is in place $64.90 per ton. So whatever he pulls out, he's putting back at $64.90. So we tell him square yardage that the town can afford, and he'll do it for $64.90, and it will still be cheaper than such as Basins or Allstate or Springfield Paving because it's in place.
So Russ, let me ask, I'm with Nate. So that 239 means nothing. That total, it could be 400,000 if they go down and didn't measure it right. So the total cost means nothing. It's just how much they're going to put down. Because I thought the same thing as Nate is. I almost think Basin's doing a better job because they're putting more tire down per foot. But what you're saying is just a measurement, I guess. So
That's correct.
We don't know what the final price is. They're not going to bid that for 239. It might not be in 280 or something.
We can't afford it. That's what I'm saying. It'll be somewhere in that range, but his square yards would have to be adjusted accordingly. All of them would have to be.
Can I get a quick comment, Kevin?
Please.
I know we talked about this before, Russ, with the bid where it went out in A to B and each contractor comes up with their own number. I feel like some of the confusion is, I feel like we should supply them with that number. So we're getting the same square footage from everybody, that we're all on the same page. And if it's probably going to vary, I'm sure, but there's, a pretty good size difference between one to the next. And it's just a comment for down the road. It's not going to change anything right now, but
No, but I echo Jason. I don't know why we don't go out to bid and say we want 370 tons or 3,710 tons in this section of the road. That's what we think it's going to take. What's it going to cost? You know, instead of having them estimate how much it's going to be when we can't make them live up to that.
We would typically do that, but this one was different because the thickness of the pavement varied so much from anywhere from 4.5 to 5 inches up to 10. So it was up to that contractor to tell us what they were going to do for us. So if we had put a reclaiming amount to it, then we would be liable for that, and it could possibly come back and shorten our job immensely. So this was the safest way to do it, is let them do the measurements and let them be responsible for what we were asking for. So the distance is apples for apples. What's not is probably the width of the road because of the snow piles. So let's say Basins used 23.5 feet and Pike used 23 feet as an average. That would be
right, but we could provide them with that average ourselves.
Say that again?
We could provide them with that number ourselves.
We could, but we didn't feel it was worthy of us to do the drilling of the pavement to see how much it was going to cost to be reclaimed and finished graded. We wanted them to do that. We put the responsibility and liability on them.
I just don't know how you're going to get that. Yeah, I mean, that it is what it is for now, but
it does seem confusing, Jason, though. I echo, because we normally go out and set the standards and say, this is what we want. And everybody comes back and tells us this is what it's going to take, instead of having 4 different companies telling it how to fix it. You know?
Right. You're going to get 4 different suggestions and 4 different numbers, and they're going to vary significantly. And let's say you do go low, which obviously we probably would, but that may not be the better job at the end of the day.
That's what my concern is it's not the dollar amount. Is we're going to do this, and we only do them every 15 years. You want a good job done to it, so I'd hate to cut $1 a ton or $2 a ton just to get it a little cheaper job. I just want to be reassured that no matter what, all 4 will do the same quality of work on that road when we're done. That's all. That's only my only concern.
Have we looked at?
Go ahead, Jason, please.
No,
no, go ahead.
I'm just curious too. Have we looked at condition of culverts on that road? There's 2 or 3 pretty good sized culverts that, if we're going to spend a pile of money on a road, and maybe we don't have the money to change them anyways, but I feel like we should at least look at them and evaluate them. And if time and money allowed, would seem to be the time to do them.
We will definitely be taking that in advisement.
You had a list, excuse me, Kevin, I just want to ask, you had a list at one point of the culverts that needed replacing and the amount that it was, right, that you showed us? No? Russ?
You're asking Kevin?
No, I'm asking you.
Yes, we have a updated list that we do regularly to what culverts are in need of repair, but especially we look at culverts that are under a brand new pavement. Absolutely, they'll take a priority, even in a fair condition versus a poor condition if we're paving over it.
Thank you.
Kevin, one quick question.
Absolutely.
What is our budget this year for repaving?
We have literally no monies carried over. It's a ridiculous amount. It's like $1,000, but we have 2 years worth of pavement anticipated, which would be $250,000. We would like to do some I'm sorry, the crack sealing. So we don't want to use all of it on this job.
Can I jump in for a second, Kevin?
Absolutely.
On the subject of pavement, I'm not sure how much people run around town, but the pothole situation is like multiplying by the day. And they've done a pretty good job of keeping up with it. But I feel like, we have a mile of road to do, should last 20 years or whatever by the time we get back to it. There's none of this that's going to last 20 years. So I feel like we need some money to be able to fix some of these potholes and problem spots a little more permanently to get that section to last. And I don't know if that, how that exactly works yet, but
this is why we're reclaiming.
They're in pretty rough shape in spots,
This is why we're doing this process, Jason, is because the filling, the shimming, and then an inch overlay, we have found is really not the best use of money. Reclaiming grinds down the complete depth of the laminated asphalt so that the cracks and potholes don't come back nearly as quick. And this section, if you've been over it, is actually separating. We have cracks that are 6-8 feet long where the asphalt is actually separated laterally, not just a pothole.
Yep.
So
I'm in
that's why we're
complete
doing
agreement.
such a solid job on this section.
Yep, I'm in complete agreement, and I actually travel that section probably 5 times a day. But I'm just thinking other sections in town that are going to be several years before they're repaved again.
No question.
So there are some other sections that are going to need to be kind of band-aided to get them along to get to that point, is I guess my only point.
Kevin, can I ask a question? I'm going to go back. Nate asked the question, so now you got me just thinking some more. If we got 250,000 is what we have, and right now Pike is the only one that stays under that budget. But what you've been saying is it could go over that 239 because that's just an estimate. So am I wrong that once we go over 250, we don't have the money? Therefore, Pike could actually still go over 250?
No, that's not what I said. I said we will have to play with the square yards and the distance so that we can afford what these people have bid. That's why we ask for tonnage and square yards from them so that we can adjust it to what we can afford.
So now I'll go back to the select board. We're hearing a motion, and I can't feel comfortable giving you a motion that it's going to be so much a ton when I got no total dollar. If you want a motion from the select board, we should limit it to a total dollar amount for paving, and you would reward it, let's say, to Pike. But at least we would set the value at, going back to what Jason's just saying, we need a little extra money, so we could just say that the bid is not to exceed 230,000, and then you get as much paved as you can out of the 230,000. This is a question I'm asking.
It's a valid one. The input, we tie this all together, and I'm glad we've had a good, robust discussion on this. So we're in agreement that we are limited by our budget to 250,000 on the ceiling, are we not? We're all in agreement on that?
Yes.
Yes.
That's correct.
Kevin,
Okay.
it's the clerk. Could I ask a question, please?
Sure.
Nate asked about the budget and Russ said there was literally nothing budgeted, but then he said 2 years worth of payment. Is that left over from other times? I don't understand.
Every year in our budget, we carry $125,000. It's voted on in part of the budget, and it goes into the retreatment fund. We did not use it last year because Basins prolonged their job until the following season. So we didn't use it. We used the one from the past year. So we're assuming that now that we have 2 years worth of asphalt, which we won't know until May 15th for sure. But we're assuming that we can utilize this on this section of road to this point. So we are planning ahead, trying to get our ducks in a row, and I don't have the amount that's exactly in that fund right this second. I'm sorry to say, I should have grabbed it.
No, that's okay. I wasn't sure how I was writing it. Thank you. I got it.
Can I ask
So-
Russ that one more
Let
question
me
then?
just go back. Give me a second, Craig. Let me just go back then. So are we not then certain that we have $250,000 that we are capable of utilizing?
We have $250,000 that we're capable of utilizing,
Okay.
but we're
Sorry,
not
Craig.
going to spend all of it
No,
on this project.
I'm heading to the same question. So right now we have 125,000 that we were supposed to use before July 1st, and then we have another 125 that we could spend after July 1st, correct?
It goes into a fund, Craig, so it carries over through the fund. It's
Right,
not
but-
part of the general budget.
No, follow me through what I'm asking you. The next July 1st, it starts another year.
That's correct.
In that year is $125,000. So
That's
right
correct.
now you should have 125,000 in your coffin from this year that didn't get used, and then you're gonna have another 125 for next year when it starts July 1st.
That's correct.
That's what I was just trying to.
Are we all in agreement on that point?
Yes.
Okay. Now, getting back to the input from Nate, Jason, and Craig, thank you, on two things that I observed. The first was that we're traditionally, I believe, we give them the parameter of what we can spend and what we're looking for. If I'm wrong, someone correct me. And the second point of that is, given the current limitation of the budget and the current numbers presented by these four companies, Pike comes in underneath that budget. However, unless we specifically limit them to a number, they could, just based on what we've asked for, come in considerably over that unless we specifically limit them to a number. Is that correct or not?
That is correct. We're going to adjust the square yards by what we can afford, using the contractor that we choose.
And I think it was Craig and Jason, you guys brought up the point, though, that, and Russ said we didn't measure it because of again, they assume the liability, Russ, by doing the measuring themselves.
That's correct.
So does anyone have an issue with that we are not doing the measuring and leaving that part of this process with the four contractors that have done it?
Kevin, this is Jason. I do for the future. I mean, if we set it out this way now, that's what it is. We'll just need to work with it. But
Okay.
That's where I stand on that.
And Kevin, to echo what we've done in the past, there's sometimes we come back with $1 and we give it to who lays it down for the lease, but we've also been short or we've gone long according to once they start the job, we find out, hey, this was easier and went further with it, and sometimes it's not. So what Russ is saying is, I'll echo a little bit, we've done that in the past, but we normally come back and say, this is what we want and who can come back to lay it down the lease. So my concern is that, don't look at the final numbers. How much money are we going to give and say, here's let's say 240,000, give it to the person that's going to do the best and the most amount of the road for that $240,000 is what we're trying to do.
That's correct.
Nate?
Well, Kevin, this is Cynthia. He walked away for a second. I had something that I just wanted to, I think that you need to put a number on this, like Craig is saying, because I mean, call me cynical, but I'm a little concerned with a bid that you're not bidding like a final number and not to exceed this amount, because I feel like we're getting into that situation again where we have a contractor that all of a sudden says, well, I gave you a bid, this is what it was, and we needed to do this, and we needed to do that, and all of a sudden you're coming back and saying, well, it cost more than we thought. So I'm a little, this whole thing has been confusing for me. I'm trying to follow it, but I just think you need to put a number on it, and 250 is not the number. If I heard Russ correctly, we have no more money and we have other things we need to get done. So I guess I'm just, I don't know. I'm a little uneasy. That's all.
Appreciate that. We were discussing that. The limitation, I believe, on what we could actually use and the fact that we had only $250,000 to use.
I totally agree
correct?
that we should put a limit to the bid.
Okay.
Being that we have 250,000, I'll make a motion that we don't spend any more than $235,000 on this Westminster West paving job this year.
We have a motion to limit the Westminster West Road paving bid contract to no more than $235,000.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Susan. Before we move to the vote, is there any more commentary on this matter?
Does that $15,000 difference give you enough for us to do the crack sealing like you were talking? I have no idea what that stuff costs. So
It does. It gives us, and this is a maximum. So after we get this and we square it away, we'll find out how much we actually need to do, and we'll make the adjustments with this maximum dollar amount.
okay.
Any other commentary before I ask the vote?
I'm assuming we're voting on the total, then we'll turn around and vote on who gets the total, correct?
Yes, that's right. All those in favor of limiting the amount for the contract on Westminster West Road to be paved to $235,000, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Now, as far as the chosen contractor, discussion.
I'd like to see it stay as local as possible, but I don't, with those numbers and the per ton in place, I don't know if they'd be that competitive or not.
That's a good point.
I would agree with you, Jason. Local is better, but for the taxpayers, sake of the taxpayer, we should go with the most efficient.
I agree.
Then I make a motion.
Hold on, Craig, I have a quick question. Have we ever used,
Go ahead.
excuse me, forgive me, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Have we ever used Pike before?
Yes.
Yes, we have.
A few years ago, but yes.
And how was the quality of the work?
It is a very good quality work.
Okay.
All of these contractors are very capable of doing this job and doing it well.
Okay. Any more commentary from the board or the public? Okay, we'll entertain a motion to choose the contractor.
I'll make a motion that we go with Pike Industries.
I'll second
You have a
that.
second?
Yes, I'll second.
Motion's been made by Craig, seconded by Susan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for your input. New business discussion, moving on to second letter tax sale notice, March 25th.
Just an FYI to keep you guys folks in the loop. The second letter will go out tomorrow. Just an FYI, since we started our letters and our contracts again, we've collected $206,760.73 of delinquent taxes. So it does work, and we're doing very well.
Thank you.
Any commentary?
Nope.
Seeing none. I'm sorry, so go ahead, Sue.
No, I was going to say thanks for us for that.
Thank you. Moving on to the local emergency management plan renewal.
In your packet, you have the smaller version of the local emergency management plan, better known as the LEMP plan. And I have a couple open areas that I can fill now with Kevin, you being a contact person for the emergency management job. So I will fill that in, but I would like an adoption of this plan tonight so I can pass it in to make us completely in good standings with our local emergency management overall plan.
I move we adopt the local emergency management plan as submitted to us tonight.
Motion is made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made to adopt the local emergency plan and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to the grant received, $10,150 mitigation plan renewal, bids due March 26th of 2021.
That's just an FYI that we have posted it appropriately. And the bids are due Friday of this week. Both of these are mandatory through the state of Vermont, just so you know.
Okay. Thank you. Commentary at all?
Nope.
I like the
Okay.
horn.
I'm sorry?
I like the horn that went off. That was sounding pretty good.
Thank you. Moving on.
Kevin, I'm sorry,
Please.
I cut another question. Are we talking about D and E, both of these grant mitigation and American Rescue?
D and D.
Thank
We
you.
haven't got to E yet.
No, just D. Thank you, Russ. Moving on to E, American Rescue Plan Act, funding, $290,000.
This is probably a little premature to be bringing this up. But that being said, part of the president's $1.9 trillion package was a significant amount of money given to each state. And the state of Vermont has come up with a unit of measurement through millions of dollars to each town in the state of Vermont. On this chart that I have in front of me, the town of Westminster is going to receive $0.29 million, which of course is $290,000 allocated for, and that's where it gets a little sketchy. This portion was first told to us that it was going to be for infrastructure. There's 3 sections of this plan, and at a meeting that I went to Monday, there's the equivalent of $300 per person per capita, which would, for town of Westminster, would be somewhere in the vicinity of $1 million. So this 290 would be a small portion of the $1 million. And there's 3 separate categories that towns will use this money for, such as the first one, this 290 was for infrastructure, pavement, bridges, crosswalks, sidewalks, etc. Water, sewer. The next one chunk of money was allocated for resiliency, trying to boost your economy and whatever that the town sees fit to do so. The last one, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank.
Education.
Education, thank you. And that was another allocation that would be given to the town to divvy up as we see fit. So it is very premature, but I was so excited about getting that information. And then having a meeting on Monday, I thought a lot more information was going to be worked out, and it's not. It's still in the process. They did promise within the next 2 weeks we would have a lot more information, and I will share that as soon as I get some true facts.
Kevin,
Thank you very much.
could I interrupt
Yeah.
for a minute?
Sure.
This is on a tangent, but Russ, would you check to see if there's anyone in the waiting room?
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Yes, there is. Sorry.
They're waiting. Okay, thank you. Sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you on that. So Russ will keep us informed as that proceeds.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to 19.1 acre land purchase from the town.
In your packet, you have a proposal from Patrick Clark to purchase the property off of Pine Banks Road, owned by the town, the 19.1 acres, for $24,500, with the terms to be paid in full in cash to be made within 45 days of acceptance by seller. I would need a motion to proceed with this. It will be a quick claim deed from the town to the new owner. He is also, which was kind of interesting, he is asking that we do not relinquish the second right of way, just leave it as it is.
Okay, discussion?
Well, I'll make a motion. I'll so move to get the discussion started if there is one. To accept the offer, I guess.
Motion by Sue to accept the offer. A second?
I'll second it.
Motion's been moved. Go ahead, Sue.
I was going to say, are there any disadvantages to not the second right of way, leaving the second right of way as is?
Not a one.
To the town? No, okay. All right. It's my only question.
And this is, just for me, this is, we are all in agreement that this, and starting with you, Russ, that this is a fair price. And this is exactly what we should be doing.
We've accepted this price twice with people backing out.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, motion to accept the bid by Sue, seconded by Toby.
Mhm.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried.
Third time's a charm, we hope.
Thank you.
Thank you, Russell. Okay, manager's report.
Just a couple quick things. The town of Westminster's road crew are going to jump into a mentor program for a student employer. It's Nicholas Streeter. We have contacted the school, and news to me, I don't have a young person in school any longer. They have to sign contracts when they go to different programs in the school. And so he has to revise his contract with the tech center, the River Valley Technical Center. And the paperwork is generated by himself, his parents, the teacher, his one-on-one teacher, and of course the superintendents, etc. So all are on board. He will be working at limited hours, of course, during the school year, but this summer he'll be learning the trade, working with our road crew, and hopes that he'll stay with us for a long-term young person.
I think
Excellent.
that's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And the second thing is the emergency health order has been declared for the William Lyons property. I'm going to post it tomorrow. And then there's 5 days for anyone to object to the cleanup of the property. I have talked to the fire station, to the fire department, and I've talked to, of course, the road crew, and between the two entities, we are going to burn the contamination and then clean up the ash as needed when it's all cleaned up to proper standards.
Terrific. Boards and commissions?
You have in your packet a request for funds from the Conservation Commission. Tatiana is not there with us anymore.
Yes,
I let
no,
her-
I am.
Oh, you
I'm
are?
here.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
There you are.
Here I am.
Sorry about the long delay. I was not,
That's okay.
I'm the host and I didn't notice you, and I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But they yelled at me and said, let her in. So there you are. So I'll let you speak to it.
Okay. Just that the Conservation Commission, it doesn't have any funds of our own, and we were previously talked to, I think, to Russ about this, and it was suggested that if we needed any small funds for anything, we should request them via the select board. So that's what I'm doing. We're requesting $300 now because we are producing a little booklet about how to deal with problematic plants, which some people refer to as invasive species, but with non-chemical means. And it's just a little booklet with nice hand-drawn illustrations that one of our members is doing of the plants in question. So we want to produce 100 copies of that, and that our estimate for that is $250. We'll produce as many as we can for $250, and we'd like to have that ready for town meeting day. And then the other $50 is the fee for us to become members of the Vermont Association of Conservation Commissions, which is a statewide organization that provides a lot of educational programs for conservation or commissioners to help us better learn how to better advocate for our natural resources for conservation. And they have an annual meeting. That's a really good networking opportunity. So that's it.
Thank you.
May I speak to this?
Sure.
Please.
I just want to say I'm in favor of allocating this money. I know, at least before COVID, the Conservation Commission's been very active on several issues. And I think, given that they have no budget line item, that I'd be happy for us to give them a little dough.
You making a motion on that, Sue?
Yes, my motion is to allocate, what was that, 500 total?
No, we're just asking for 300, right?
Oh, $300 to the Conservation Commission.
I'll
I'll
second.
second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that, and also wanted to just take the opportunity to say that we are recruiting for new members. We only have 4 members right now. So if any of you have suggestions or ideas for people who might be good for the Conservation Commission, please let me know. And we have been sort of less active than we were before COVID, but we're trying to gear back up again. And I'm happy to answer any questions about the commission from anyone at any point. So,
Thank you so much, Tatiana.
sure. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'll unvideo.
Anything else in the boards and commissions? Any other business?
I have one item.
Okay,
The clerks have asked me to have you weigh in on with a motion about dog registration late fees. The state of Vermont has declared that late fees will not be able to be charged for late registrations until after 90 days of the end of the state of emergency. Last year, we brought this to you and you waived the late fees for the whole year because of the COVID pandemic. They need guidance from you to either follow the state guidelines of 90 days after the pandemic is over, the state of emergency is over, and then charge the minimal fee of a late charge, or to waive it completely for the entire year. So I do need to have a motion from you to your pleasure on that.
How much is the?
well, I just wanted to make a comment that given that we are still in or have been in I'm sorry, sir, I didn't mean to interrupt, but fiscal 2021 still in the COVID protocol. I would just simply make the point that perhaps we should follow what we did last year and just waive it completely, but that's my 2 cents.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion has been moved to waive the fee for the year and seconded. Any commentary?
Do you want to know how much the
Yeah,
fee
I
is?
just wondered how much
Susan?
it is. Yeah. That's all right. It's like percentage or it's a couple bucks.
So until April 1st, it's 9
Yeah.
and 13 for spayed and neutered and not spayed and neutered. And after April 1st, it's 11 and 17.
Yeah.
So it's $2 and $4
It's fine.
more.
Okay, thank you.
Do you guys want to change anything, or are we good with our original decision?
I'm good with my motion.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Waived for the year.
Yeah.
Waived for the year. Okay, thank you.
Any
Right.
other business?
Can I ask a question? What year are you talking
Yeah.
about? When you're saying waive the year, you're talking about starting in July and going of this year, or from now on?
No, dog registration year, which is April 1st until March 31st.
That's the dog year, okay.
That's a dog year. And every 1 year is 7 years, so I'm really not sure.
Okay, no other business.
I have one other quick question, Kevin. When everybody
please,
else
go ahead.
is done.
Go ahead, Nate.
So as we hopefully are peaking mud season, I'm reminded, spring rains and summer rains are coming. I'm reminded of our conversation about gravel pit purchase and comments that were made during the presentation by the town about the necessity for our gravel pit because we were losing our resource that year and the materials we were getting were causing a lot of the sliminess. Where are we still pursuing some sort of gravel pit, or what are we doing for our materials these days?
We have found, actually, they came to us, a new source for gravel in Langdon / Elsted. And I'm drawing a blank at his name right this second.
Roger Pelton, Russ.
Roger Pelton, thank you. And the product seems to be very, very good. The price is even better. So there's really right in a second, we're not pressing to buy something, but we're of course always keeping our eyes and ears open. And as for sand, we have again found that same source is we found a source that is got a lot more stone in it, and it's hanging really, really tight to our roads, keeping us out of that really fine mud that makes it slippery. So both are right this second are we're doing all right, but know that in 10 years we're not going to be looking so well, where the sources will be gone.
We would have been out of that pit in 10 years too, so we're okay. No further behind. So thank you. That's good information.
Thank you. Date of the next meeting, April 14th.
Kevin, I have
Go
one
ahead.
thing under other business. At some point, I'd like to get an update on the broadband initiative. I've been hearing about a lot of money available for that. I don't know what you call it, the community something of which we're a part. Doesn't have to happen right away, but when something happens substantive, it'd be nice to have a little report on an update on how they're doing. Thank you. That's it.
Excellent. Thank you. Anyone else? Any other business they want to bring up at this point? Anyone?
Thanks to the guys for fixing the potholes. I'm happy about that.
All right. Seeing none. Date of the next meeting is April 14th, 6:30, 2021. Thank you, everyone, for all you do. Thank you, everyone, for being here, your input.
I move.
And
yeah.
Second.
Motion has been made to adjourn and seconded. We are adjourned. Be safe, be well.
Thank you.
Good night.